It's your boy Diego coming at it with a video here trying to figure out how to do my intro eventually. We will be looking at my Montana today, a quick game with some brawling scenarios. Just quickly going over some things that you should always do in your battleships or try to. We start the match really slow, so it's mostly getting from from spawn to C to try to help the team. The team is really passive. I don't really like that, so I always try to force some type of compromise on the enemy team. There are some mistakes made by me here and by the enemy as well. I do end up dying in my Montana, but I think we secure the game for the team, even though I do die. Sorry about that. I was trying to do something with the camera there, but it didn't work out while recording the Montana video there. I don't know what our Hindenburg was doing at the beginning of the match, but people were having just conversation in chat. Then I run into a New Orleans because that's what happens at higher tiers. So we're still making our way to Cap C. I have AP loaded. It's been nearly 2 minutes already, and we're still not detecting anyone, or more than a minute now. We have a BC strategy going here. I don't use a spotter plane in my Montana. Some people like to use that to shoot into smoke screens, which you'll see that maybe might have been useful in this match earlier with them, or later in the match. So we're headed here with the fleet. I run the I'll try to get a picture before the end of the match so you guys can see what I run on my Montana. It's a typical 20% fire reduction, module concealment. My captain has 3 points out of 15 that I haven't used. I'm waiting for the 4th point to be able to have finally concealment expert on my Montana. As you can see by that circle, I don't yet have concealment expert. We spot a Montana really quickly here. Sorry, a Yamato, not a Montana. I'm in the Montana. He disappears, but I still had target lock, so I took a pot shot at him before anything happened. Hopefully we can get some citadels there, but I'm not sure. I couldn't tell his intention. We do nick him for about 7k damage, which isn't bad, and I remained angled towards him. You always want to remain angled to what is out there, and we are getting some more information through the mini-map on what we should be angling towards or be wary of. We know that there's someone capping C, so that means there's either a destroyer in there or light cruiser such as a Minotaur. I've already pretty much given away that there will be a Minotaur in there. There's a Zhao with the Yamato. I'm angling away. He's not looking at me, so that's good. I'm also setting up here because I have been detected for a while, to basically either quickly slow down, which I'm doing already, so I can dodge any torpedoes that might be headed my way, and to be able to be in a kiting position already. Not because I don't have backup, but because I don't know what's behind that smoke screen. Those shots you just saw were actually Montana shells, and they landed short on me, which is good because that was perfectly broadside. I did not know that at the time, but I figured that out later. I'm getting HE spammed. I don't put out one fire. One fire can burn. I can fully heal that. I have superintendent, so I take advantage of using all my heals. I let it burn, and just because I'm wary of torpedoes, I haven't burned my pair either. That's one thing you always want to keep in mind. Your repair is really important in most battleships. Oh, your damage control rather. Your damage control party. Your repair party is also important. I put it off, or I put it on right now because my fire is about to burn out, and I can heal all that damage back. We see a Donskoy in the distance. He's probably trying to radar our destroyers or trying to get information, and he's a big threat with that 12-kilometer radar, so I prioritize him over the Benson, who I couldn't shoot earlier because he was getting behind the island. We do take about a big chunk out of him, half health, I can't tell, but that's about 20k, 25k, and we finally spot the Minotaur thanks to the New Orleans right in front of us who's using radar, and I think I'll be able to get the last shot in here. He is healing, I believe, but when you have a Montana that close to you as a Minotaur and you're detected, yeah, you're not going to survive long. I angle in to try to use that island that New Orleans was using to try to avoid torpedoes, just in case, and the Benson is spotted now, so I'm also keeping an eye on that. I haven't seen his torpedoes. I think we did see them earlier, but I'm not sure. The Minotaur is going, going on him, and the Fletcher sent some torpedoes that way as well. I don't know if it was for the Benson or the Minotaur, but either way, they're gonna probably hit him. I tried to aim, but he got caught on the Minotaur corpse there as he tried to run away. I noticed that Montana was trying to come into me, and I was already angling in, but he still nicked me for 12,000 damage, which that's a mistake right there. You always want to be aware of what's coming around the island. But like I said, I was trying to use that island to dodge torpedoes that might have been coming my way. So 12k health was worth it in my opinion. I get 2 penetrations in the Citadel, but it seems that the 2 penetrations were eaten by his turrets, or they didn't register because I only did 13,500 damage, which is a Citadel only. The Donskoy, he did lose half health. I think that was to me, and he's 17 kilometers away now, so I think we scared him off for a bit, so that helps us stay in the smoke screen and capture C. We don't want to lose ground to our enemies, so I'm staying here. I'm backing up, and I see the B's being captured, so I start thinking, okay, I should back up, because going full force ahead here to the Lion, which is spotted right there, the Donskoy, and well, we did kill the Benson, and I wasn't afraid of pushing in here because we had data that the Yugamo was up there. I think the Hindenburg died. I think he was the one spotting him. Yeah, Hindenburg has died. So we're working down the Montana, who I did do a good amount of damage, but he's angled, so damage is minimal. Trying to aim at his superstructure, so it lands on the deck as well. You don't want to aim at the butt because the butt is rounded, and I think it might take damage, but he's too far away for me to try to aim at the butt of the ship, at the rear, the aft. Sorry, I know that's the proper term, the aft, but it's round, so I call it a butt. So we do end up sinking the Montana. He was on low health. Everyone was working on him. If you see, most of the team is really passive behind me. I get detected by radar, so I look at around it's not the Donskoy, and then I see the Des Moines there. I'm not really worried about it. There's nothing that could take advantage of me right now. The Zao is going to try to get some damage into me, but he's firing AP, and I am pretty well angled. I'm going to try to go help at B. This flank has too many people on it. I get a big salvo on the Sao, no citadels, but 14,000 damage. He disappears, that's fine. He's not really an issue for me. Everyone's trying to kill the Des Moines because that's the issue for our destroyers, obviously. There's a Yamato in the distance. Something else in the distance, I think that's in New Orleans, and I'm kind of wondering where that Yugamo is now, since his last spotter position was up there by the beginning of the match. Our Hindenburg is dead, so I'm keeping that in mind while I'm charging into B. There is probably a destroyer going here. I don't understand what this Yamato captain was doing. He's opening broadside to me. I was pretty well angled at him. He commits a couple of mistakes here, because I do open up my broadside a little bit too much. But he shoots at me way too early. I'm still well too angled, and he shoots at my broadside. So he nicks my superstructure with 2 shells, but in a Yamato, you never want to aim at a broadside Montana because it's got a huge belt, or rather not the broadside, but the broadside armor of a Montana. So he's giving me full broadside there, so they come for 42k. I angled again, and he's still shooting at my broadside armor. He should be shooting at my nose, because he can overmatch my nose and get citadels that way, or get massive penetrations. So he's not very used to brawling with the Yamato. I mean, he has to get used to if someone's pushing into him that hard. That hard turn to the left also helped with torpedo dodging, because the Yugamo was right next to the Yamato. I didn't know that at the time, but you know, he had anticipated me just moving in a straight line, which I would never do. So considering there's a Yamato right there that could one-shot me if he wanted to. So I keep going straight at them. I am going to charge the smoke screen because he fired all his salvos at me already, the Yugumo. The Baltimore, I think, pops radar and spots him for me. I shoot at him because right now if I shot at the Yamato, I would do minimal damage, so I'm just trying to do that. The Yamato nicks me for 10k from the nose, but he's still shooting really weirdly. He's shooting at the side of my nose instead of... Yeah, I don't know what he was doing. He could have shot my superstructure as well, or he could have waited. I'm lining up my turrets now, if you didn't see, for a broadside run on the Yamato. I was hoping his turrets couldn't keep up, but they do keep up, I think, or he gets them right in there. Pretty much overkill there with the citadels, and now I'm stuck here with some friendly torpedoes coming my way. But thankfully, my friendly does not go pink, and I end up getting a close quarters experts and a double strike there. So I think, you know, with the Yugumo gone, I think I secured the win for the team there. It goes on for a while, but it's basically a win. So I have another match for you guys to watch, and it's a little bit more controversial because it has to do with the British battleships and, you know, their HE spam, essentially. This was a game with Skull the other day. He was in his Scharnhorst, as you can see here. And we're top tier, so that's good. Normally in the King George, even if you're top tier, it doesn't matter because even though I have AP loaded here, I always fire HE at it. At almost anything, unless if it's a cruiser broadside. In which case, the AP is made for that on the British battleships. I already switched to HE anyway. So it's standard battle, which is not my favorite game mode. It's really passive. They should do other type of, you know, matches other than Epicenter. Everyone hates that one. Domination is the most fun, but it gets pretty tiresome. And standard battle is pretty much also universally panned for being too passive. It doesn't. They need to have more game modes. Essentially, operations is nice, PvE is nice, but they need to do something like team deathmatch. There is no flags. It literally, you kill the enemy team, all ships, or all your ships get killed, or something to those, you know, to that effect essentially, or I don't know, other single player type deals where, you know, or not single player, but a triple threat, you know, scenario. I don't know, I'm just throwing out ideas out here, but they need to come up with more scenarios or even bigger maps to an extent, because yeah, everything is really compressed in the game, so that's why AP on battleships does so much damage to everything essentially, and also the game models that they use. But anyway, so this is my King George V, and it's got pretty small guns. It's at tier 7, 356mm, which is bigger than Scharnhorst, and we're having a little bit of driving issues here, and it was supposed to be tier 8 beforehand, but people said that they couldn't, the 356 wouldn't be able to hold up in a tier 8 match, even though, you know, or in a tier 10 match more than anything, even though they could have, you know, made them even faster firing than 25-second reloads on this, you know. So anyway, HE is the topic, and I mean, yes, the British historically did have the biggest high capacity shells, as the US Navy calls them, but when I can just use HE, I will use HE on these ships because it's so easy to use. It's crazy ridiculous. The damage, the penetration, the fire chance. This thing only has 41% fire chance, and I believe by the end I get like 15 fires on this thing. It's not the best game in the King George V. I don't claim to have that, but you know, I do just a quarter or about 175k, I believe, by the end of the match. So we see in Atlanta here, he's behind a smoke screen that is, I'm guessing, one of the Japanese destroyers on the enemy team put up. They have Mutskis, I think, 2 Mutskis, and we have our team going up the middle, and apparently our Omaha torpedoed our Kirov up the middle for some reason. So the start of this match wasn't looking like it was going to be a win for us, and it's pretty much a loss, you know, in my mind already. But I'm kiting away because the entire enemy team seems to be coming this way, even though our entire team almost came over here as well. But in a scenario like this, you have to be ready to disengage. So I have all my guns firing. I'm in range of enemies, and I am taking part of it. Some people don't like people running away. They should just man up and get close to the ships and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's if you set up, or if you have an idea in mind, or yeah, it ends up working up, you know, out in the end, hopefully, then, you know, you plan accordingly to everything. So the Atlanta was taken care of. He was the biggest issue for our lone destroyer that we have, which is a Fubuki. So we took that, you know, we took him down pretty quickly, which is nice. So I started working on this Nagato. He's, you know, 20 kilometers away. He is sitting still. So our first salvo does 8k, which is ridiculous with only 4 shells landing with AG. Had I fired AP at him at those ranges, I would have gotten bounces, shatters, or, you know, even probably overpens, which is what most people are, you know, not happy with, essentially, with AP. He fires back at me, I believe. Yeah, he's aiming at me. I set another 2 fires on him, and I took out his rudder. I thought I took out his engine, so the next salvo I miss, because I was like, oh yeah, I took out his engine, he can't move. Even better for me. But he does speed up, even with his rudder stuck. I think this is the salvo, maybe it was the next one. No, he does speed up, and yeah, I completely miss. Or actually, no, I get 1 salvo that does 2,000 damage, which even 1 shell landing is pretty, you know, a pretty good amount. He can't aim at me, so he decides to shoot something else. I don't know what it was, or maybe it was aimed at me. Okay, some other battleship shooting at me. I get 3k done by the Baron Amir. I'm still pretty good, you know, pretty well angled, but they're coming in, so I decide to move forward slightly and try to angle a little bit better. I do have priority target telling me what's aiming at me. I check to see if the torps are coming my way, because I think they have range, so I'm trying to shoot the Nagato because he did burn his repair, I believe. I mean, there's nothing he really can do, and I set another fire. So if you look at my damage, mostly I only did like 14k to the Atlanta, but this guy I've had him constantly on fire. So I even said sorry, Nagato, because, you know, there's no way he's hiding behind an island. He's spotted. He can't even see me, and I'm lobbing shells over, you know, and doing a good amount of damage. Yeah, I mean, what can he do? And this is just the tier 7 with lower caliber guns than normal at this tier, apart from the Scharnhorst. So the Conqueror at tier 10 with 2 more guns, 2 more barrels than this. Better accuracy than this, because this has shit accuracy. So I wonder if they did nerf the Conqueror's Sigma, the dispersion, the circle. So when you're aiming this game, so here I'll show you. Okay, when you zoom in like that, basically in alpha stages, what the game used to do for you was draw a circle on the water for you, just like the artillery do in World of Tanks. It draws a circle for you. They removed the circle, but this is exactly how the game works still. So literally the dispersion is basically the little reticle that you have is basically the center of that circle, and that's where you're aiming. So when people say Sigma and dispersion and stuff like that, so the dispersion that the game gives you in this, it tells you basically the diameter of that circle. Like, for example, I think this has like 256 meters of dispersion. So that means that circle is 256 meters in diameter. That, you know, they can go anywhere on that circle. That's what the dispersion means, on the water. And based on that dispersion, you also have a value that that's called sigma. The higher the value, the less likely that your shells will go disperse badly around that circle. The game tries to help you when you lock onto a target. It increases your accuracy by like 20% or 50%, something like that. It doesn't do well with bow on targets. It tries to disperse horizontally because the game assumes that you'll be firing at a ship that is broadside to you all the time. So, you know, it doesn't always come in handy. Anyway, here we see, I thought it was 2 destroyers coming up or a destroyer coming up the middle, but we had already killed the destroyers, and I failed to realize that. We hadn't seen these cruisers for a long time, so they were just waiting for the right moment to push in. Here I used the AP for the first time in the match after 90k. I do get massive amount of damage on a Furitaka, but that's no surprise. A cruiser can do this. The AP on it, on the King George and most British battleships, is amazing for cruisers and destroyers. Not so great against battleships, or well-armored ships, rather. The Leander gets killed, and I tried to overmatch the Furitaka, but instead, I get 4 bounces, and I aim at his nose. 356mm overmatches that, so I have no idea what was going on there. Well, I do know somewhat what's going on there, because some of the salvos you send at ships are basically literally on it's RNG, because it's a roll of the dice essentially. You can aim at someone, and based on their angle, if they're intermediate, you know, between an angle that could penetrate or an angle that couldn't penetrate, it rolls a dice literally and tells you, okay, this time it penetrated, or this time it bounced, or this time it shattered. You know, that is pretty bad, but you know, it's whatever. In real life, I guess it wouldn't work that way. It would, you know, do other things. So our Iron Duke was out here, and he got killed by the Nagato. So I was trying to come help him, and I do show a lot of broadside here, but this guy gets so lucky with his RNG. 4 shells went into my butt and hit me for 23k damage. So I was already undetected, but I opened fired because he put out my fires. So I wanted to make sure he was burning before he could land. He could throw his next salvo. And I am healing. The Royal Navy battleships also have a better heal than most nations. So even though he just literally took like 90% of the health that I had, he took me down to 3k. I'm back up to about 13k, 14k, you know, health. So I thought I would be okay, but then he hits me for 10k. And I was like, oh, this dude, oh my gosh. The King George is, you know, not the tankiest. The Nagato guns, I love the Nagato. Those things just are pretty goddamn amazing just in general. And so, you know, I mean, I thought I was angled enough, but apparently I wasn't. Well, I think he's aiming exactly where he needs to be. Which is basically, he's trying to overmatch my stern. Or, you know, if I were to bow on to him, he would be overmatching my my bow. So I let Skull take lead on the ship because I took too much damage. I thought I was gonna charge into him and be able to, you know, keep spamming him and remain angled, but apparently not. So Skull decided, you know, buddy, I'll get in front of you and, you know, take the heat off of you essentially, and that's what he does. I drop off detection all the time, so that's good. And I fumbled my shot there. I could see if I had been just patient for one more second, I could see the intent of the Nagato and would have aimed, you know, better, but yeah, I don't get the kill, even though he's at 19 health. It's okay. I don't get a single kill this match, which is fine by me. But do you see the massive amount of damage that I've done already? 136k. Only one time did I switch to AP. I did get rewarded for switching to AP that chance, you know, that I had. But pretty much everything else, even against this Grosh Bay that I'm shooting at, you know, that I try to shoot at, pretty much will fire HE because it does more damage. Or more consistency. That's what it has over AP, because I could fire AP the entire game, an entire game, and do well in it. You know, do a pretty good amount of damage, 100k average or something like that. But when I can do massive amounts of HE damage and fire damage on the ship without a problem, without anything impeding me, there's no ship in the game that can, oh yeah, I'm gonna get 90 shatters on you, you know, or anything like that. Literally, with the quarter penetration rule that they have, which is ridiculous, yeah, I don't know. I really don't understand how they're gonna balance the HE issue with the Royal Navy battleships. It'd be funny if they took away their HE as well, just like their cruisers. That would be very ironic. And fix their AP, because literally the reason most people fire HE is because their AP just doesn't do well against armored cruisers. Because you might get a penetration, but your penetrations won't do a lot of damage because they have a short fuse, just like the British cruisers. They're basically semi-armor piercing shells, even on the battleships, which does help against some really light cruisers, such as the Furutaka. Well, the Furutaka is actually a heavy cruiser, but such as those things, the Furutaka is not, even though it's a heavy cruiser because it has 203mm guns, not because it's well armored. So it helps so the shells stick in those type of situations, and in destroyers as well, but not against battleships. They either shatter because they fall into the water, and the fuse starts at the water, and when it hits the actual belt, it's too late. It's already burned through the fuse and detonated outside and shattered and done no damage at all on the belt of the ship. Which maybe you might have had enough speed and penetration with your shell, but yeah, you can play the Queen Elizabeth and the Warspite to see the differences very well, because they have the same guns. But Notzer, I think, did a video on this showing where in his Queen Elizabeth he basically fired as he would as on his Warspite, and literally he got like 7 shatters on a broadside Colorado because he aimed at the waterline thinking, oh yeah, I'll be rewarded for this against the broadside Colorado at 3 kilometers, and instead he just does literally 0 damage. Here I get a taste of my own medicine. The Iron Duke, another Royal Navy battleship, does 5k with HE against me. And, the match is ending here quickly. The New York's about to die, and then the only thing left is the Iron Duke. And our Fubuki, who has remained alive the entire match, thanks to us taking out that Atlanta and the other destroyers. Well, I think he partook in taking out the destroyers. I run into my buddy here. Didn't realize he had caught up to me and was right next to me. And basically here ends the match. I hope everyone enjoyed. And here's a picture of the Charles Martel. I had nothing else to show. And stars, why not? And I'll probably be doing a video on the Charles Martel since I just got it. I know ladies loving it, and so is Mr. Devious out there. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and if you did, leave a like or subscribe or do whatever. Thank you again.